Masterson. I am the co-chair of the Silver Lake History Collective, and we're sponsoring this with the Silver Lake Library. We've done a previous program, you recall, actually in 2019, thanks to the red card, and we had one scheduled for March 2020. Is that accurate? Anyway, here we are, 3 years later. So most of us here know Paul. Some of you don't know Paul. So Paul is a retired attorney. He's a lifelong historian. He's a fourth generation Californian. He has an incredible archive of photography, an incredible wide-ranging knowledge of Los Angeles and California history, actually. So I've heard Paul speak at least half a dozen times or more, and every single time he's wonderful. So you're going to really read tonight. So without further ado, Mr. Paul Ayers.
First thing we gotta do is make sure I'm set this. Okay, so we're doing this show. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at locations for the three major comedians of the silent era: Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and Harold Lloyd. Before we do that, you got to ask the question: how did I become a location finder? Okay. So it's all started in 1999 when a guy named John Bankston published a book about Buster Keaton locations. And in that book, he posed a puzzle. He couldn't figure out where this location was from Sherlock Jr. Now watch the sequence. Okay. Does anybody know how that was filmed? Anybody? He backed the train away from him. And then reversed the film so it looked like the train was coming at him. He couldn't figure out where it was. Well, I am cursed with having a father who was a train nut. And he had a bunch of books, and I just started looking through the books, and I figured out that it was Atwood, which is in northeast Orange County. You can see that these match those. And he was so happy, and there's that one again. He was so happy about that he devoted the next edition to telling people my story about how I figured it out. After that, I worked with John on all the remaining two books that he's done, one on Charlie Chaplin and one on Harold Lloyd. And he's been very kind to give me acknowledgments in all of them. And in one, I actually got my picture taken with him at the Charlie Chaplin studio. The thing that I do for John is I do trains and I do ridge lines. And the thing about ridge lines is, everything else in Los Angeles will change, but ridge lines don't change. So if you can find the ridge line in a film, you can tell where the film was made, more or less. And we'll see that as we go along. So okay, so on with the show. First thing we're going to do is a real easy one. This is Buster Keaton in Glendale in the movie College. College is a fairly straightforward nerd goes to college and wants to be an athlete, and the athletes all beat him up, and he gets the girl anyway. Okay, so when he goes to college, he goes to a place called Clayton. Now, is there anybody in this audience that doesn't know where that is? Of course, it's the Glendale Southern Pacific thing, and in this picture, my son James, getting ready to go off to college at UCSB, is trying to do the Keaton Lloyd. A couple of more shots that looked like when the station when it was filmed. This is from '73. Again, this is more what it looked like for this film, and also for other films that were shot at the station. Our next one is Buster Keaton, again in 3 ages. This was a takeoff on Intolerance, which was a wildly successful and influential movie in 1960. So Keaton is in 3 ages where he's trying to get the girl away from, anybody know who that is? Wallace Beery. It's Wallace Beery. And a very young, studly kind of guy. This was shot in a number of different places again. So this was shot in the Garden of Gods. Anybody who knows anything about Western movies recognizes this rock formation here. And it was the Roland part was shot in the peristyle of LA Coliseum. Now the one we're going to talk about, we could not figure out where this was shot. John and I spent Masterson shows up, talks to a couple of caddies, goes in, grabs a girl who's about to marry Paul's Perry, who's a bigamist, which I guess was as bad as it gets. And then he runs out, goes through one and gets in the other and takes off and gets off with the girl. So again, we couldn't figure out where this was, and then this is one of the things that happens. We just keep looking through books. I'll get a book about someplace, and I'll start looking through it to see if it'll solve it. Well, in this case, Juliet Arroyo came out with Early Glendale in 2005, and in it, to Kenwood Wilson is the First Methodist Church. This is it towards the 1950s, late 40s. Well, what happened was there was an earthquake in 1971. We all remember that, right? And when that happened, it got torn down, so that's why we couldn't find it. So that's it today, as compared to when it existed. But there is a small little bit that's still there, this part. Now we're going to move on to Charlie Chaplin. Movie Sunnyside in 1919. Now, where do you think this is? I mean, okay, it looks like it could be, I don't know, any place, and certainly not Burbank, right? There's a lot of yokels around, rustics, but look where we are. We're in the media center of Burbank, and the way you tell is the ridge lines. See it? They don't change. This rustic is having a hard time with something. I'm not sure what she did, and I think Charlie's kicked her. And again, the ridge lines don't change. This is a shot where the cow has gotten into a church, and he's riding it away. And you can see all the ridge lines here, and here they are again. This is from Bob Hope and Riverside. And the really nice thing that happened during the shooting of Sunnyside is Helen Keller came to visit Charlie. And this is her on the set in Burbank, introducing herself to his face. Next site is going to be Griffith Park. This is the Idol class, one of my favorites from 21. Charlie is just one of the rails in town. He came in at Pasadena Station, which was kind of cool. That's outside the scope of what we're doing today. And naturally, being a tramp, he decided to go golfing. But he doesn't have a ball. So, you see somebody's ball, and he just starts kicking it. And then he walks away when the guy figures it out. And then he finds another guy who's going to get that ball. But no, he leaves, but he leaves with the clubs. So where is this? You see mountains back in here, and you see two sets of mountains. You see these really high mountains, and you see these lower mountains. Well, one of the truisms of Southern California is if you look north in Los Angeles, you will see mountains. That's just the geography of the place. So he's almost certainly looking north. The other thing that you can know is that there weren't very many golf courses in 1921. And so the one that's closest to matching it was probably Griffith Park. And probably the Wilson Golf Course that started in 1918. So going to the course, I couldn't get down on the greens and get shots of the mountains, but I could from a little bit higher elevation. And once I did that, I made the matches. So here's the match here, and here's the match here. Because of the nature of the film shot in 1920s, it doesn't have a lot of depth. So it doesn't give you the San Gabriels. You can see a little bit of the San Gabriels behind it. What you're seeing mostly is the Verdugos and the San Rafael Gables. And this right here is the little town of Glendale. Another one, again, these are the San Rafaels over here. And there was a little hill behind Charlie, and it can't be seen at all because it's covered with foliage, but it's still there. It's right here. And then there's this funny thing out here. They cut down the foliage, probably so you can find the balls. And in this shot in 1918, you can see it right here. This is from the first tee at the first green in Wilson in 1918. There. And this one brings it all together. Here's the little hole hill, the bigger hill, and then the Sabrifels behind it. And by all that, these two rows, you figure that it's right around where the green is now at first hole in Wilson. And this is a picture of Charlie at Wilson, yucking it up. And if you notice these two guys behind him, those are the two guys that he was stealing balls from. This guy's reading the racing form back there. Now we're going to find Charlie on the Los Angeles River. Again in the idle class. Again, he's golfing. Now the wonderful thing about this is what the LA River was like in 1921. There was a number of watercourses, wet areas around it. So here he's not actually on the main channel. He's in one of these little, sloughs that ran along the side of it. He sees a ball sitting on what appears to be solid ground and says, "That's my ball." But this officious guy comes up and says, "That's my ball." And Charlie, one thing about Charlie, he's always a gent. He always, says, "Okay, whatever, it's yours." The guy takes the swing, he's gone. Now, this is actually, if you guys ride on the 5 freeway, this is a really kind of easy one. This is Beacon Hill, the end of Beacon Hill. Here's a picture by William. Anyway, one of the early showing Beacon Hill. This is probably before the turn of the 20th century. Here's the LA River here. Here's another shot of it in 1938 after the floods that ended up putting it in a concrete straitjacket. Does anybody know why it's called Beacon Hill? When the Grand Central Airport was in Glendale, there was a beacon on top of it for planes. And if you go to the top of it, you can still find little pieces of the beacon still up there. That's why it's called Beacon Hill. There's a close-up of it, about the same place where Charlie did that gag. And you can match it by just matching it like that. Match the slope. The last one we're going to do with Chaplin is from the circus. Whoa, 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 come on back there. See, sometimes it's like a horse. He just gets away from it. The circus was as pathetic, full of pathos as for Charlie's life as it was for in the movie. The movie's pretty straightforward. Charlie loves a horse rider. She doesn't love him. She goes for the stiff, and Charlie gets left. But during this time, he had a divorce from Lita Gray, which cost him a whole ton of money and was extremely shaming for him. And right at the ultimate moment when he was shooting on September 28, 1926, the entire set burned down. And this is Charlie, and that's really Charlie. He's devastated. It took him almost a year to start shooting again. So you get that in the film. And part of what we're going to look at is the finale. Now in the finale, the stiff and the girl are going to go away, and the bully circus guy is saying, "Get in the wagon." And he turns to Charlie and says, "Do you want to go?" And Charlie says, "Three's a crowd." So they all take off. Charlie stays behind. Sits down on this box, he picks up a faded star, he looks at it, he wads it up. This is the tramp move. He picks it up, holds it, kicks it away, and goes on. That's the tramp. He never stops, he never gives up, just keeps going. Okay, so here we are. What do we know looking at this? Well, there are no mountains, so we're probably looking to the south. We knew that it was in Glendale. We had gotten that information before, so we knew we were looking at Glendale somewhere. So again, we look at the topography. We're probably looking somewhere around here. And here's what's called a USGS Glendale map from 1928, beautiful map of Glendale. And so we're probably looking right in this area here, because every place else we're seeing something in the field. this way or this way or this way, you're going to see topography. The only way you're not going to see topography is being south. So, one of the first clues we got is in the movie, when you're watching the movie, these scenes with Charlie, in the background you see cars going by. And they're going by at a fairly high rate of speed, which suggests that you're next to a road, right? Our next clue was we got this still, and now you can kind of see the road a little better, and you can see a telephone pole, right? But the real one, the one that really settled it for us was this one came out in early 2005, I think, 2006. And in this one, you can definitely see this is a fairly high speed road. There's a car at speed there, an open road, and then there's a hill. So, going back to the Glendale map, every place else there's development in 1928. It's probably right around in here someplace. Because you've got two high-speed roads. You've got Glendale and you've got Verdugo. Or maybe Chevy Chase, but that would be a harder sell because you have more development. Right then is when I went to the special collections at Glendale and found these clippings. And it said that Chaplin was shooting in Glendale, and that he was shooting at the Thom property at the corner of Glendale and Verdugo, which is in that triangle that we just saw right in here. Okay. One of the things I really love about this clipping is his quote at the end. "I have always been enthusiastic over Glendale," he said. "It is one of the beauty spots of Southern California. What a wonderful studio location this would be. I want to personally thank the police department of the city for taking such good care of us. Since early morning, a motorcycle officer has been stationed, and it's just great. You know, you love that guy, man. He's a log roller from the get-go." So the next one is, again, we're talking about, it was at the Seventh-day Adventist encampment on Glendale Avenue, more or less to say, this is kind of fun though. Okay, so this is the bad luck story of the circus. The circus, they're over there, and somebody steals two of their wagons. And at first the cops thought it was because they thought there was money in it. But what it turned out to be was Occidental students had stolen it because the big game of Occidental versus UCLA, get it, the big game of Occidental and UCLA was going to take place, and they were going to have a bonfire, and they were going to burn the wagons. But, you know, Charlie being Charlie, they got him back, and he was very gracious about it. He said, "No problem, we'll just want it back." So this is the last one, this is on the encampment. This gives you the last bit. It's a triangular corner of Glendale Avenue with the big road. So here we are. This is where it's taking place, right in this area here. This is Adams Road where it ended. So it's probably above Adams Road. This is kind of fun here. This is the old Glendale City Stables. You imagine when everything in Glendale was run by horses. That's the stables. All right. So then we found this nice aerial. There's the stables there. And we start to see a little road here. This is from about the same time. So we're really starting to center down to here. So now we can go back and look and see if we can match it up. So yes, we can start to match up the hill here, in the hill here, we're right at the end of Adams Road. And then this is where they went out Glen Oaks with the wagons out to Verdugo Road. This is on King Junior High School, one place you can actually get some free board to see things. And you see this ridge here, the ridge is matched here, and the ridge is matched here. So we definitely have a location pretty much set. But there was one little thing that we couldn't figure out, which was, what's that? Okay? It's a weird little thing. What is it? So, and that's just so in case you don't know what I'm talking about. This is a sandboard map. Sandboard maps were made so that insurance underwriters on the East could write policies without having to come to California. So they went out and they created descriptions of, like this is a domicile or a wood-built domicile. So they're very handy for us because they give us a lot of detail of structures. And the thing that it gives us here is the Glendale Heights Reservoir. So that little knob was actually the Glendale Heights Reservoir. You can't see it because of the foliage anymore, but here it is now. You can see it's the same thing. So that's why it's shown up. And just as an added bonus, here's the cop driving Charlie around on the back of the Glendale police motorcycle. And I think he's probably taking him to jail because he thinks he's a vagrant. All right, Harold Lloyd, finding Harold Lloyd in Glendale. This is a movie called The Eastern Westerner, 1920. This is a pretty straight up story. Okay, so wastrel son, dad says, go make something out of yourself. Everybody has a child like that. Yeah. So make something out of yourself. So he goes out west. This is an interesting location in and of itself. It's outside the scope. This is down in El Segundo. But he gets to a train station, and some rustic says, get on board and I'll take you wherever you're going to go. Get in there. Everybody know what that is? That's for his tobacco.
That's what?
Tobacco. They roll his own cigarettes. So he's got in the back of the wagon. There he is, because he's not filling the wagon at all. And he runs out of the guy. And he gets to this little western town. I think it's called Palombi in this one. I'm not sure. He meets a nice girl. He really likes her. But there's a bully. I think he's like Cactus Jack or something. And he says to his crony, call out the angels. We'll write this ticket for the across the state line. And they all come to town. They're all wearing flour sacks on their head. Which I mean, personally, I don't find that too scary. But, you know, I guess it kind of gets him going. So he jumps on a horse. They all chase him. They chase around the upstairs. And then they chase into this little wooded area. And then they all run after him. But in reality, he's put one on his head, and he gets the car. And they go off and, you know, do whatever they do. Okay, so the train station. Train station is pretty easy. Why is the train station easy? What is that? J-E-A-L-E. What was weird about it, though, is okay, so this is what is traditionally called the Tropical train station, because it was built as the Tropical train station. This is 1883 to 1918. These are strawberries.
Tropical beauties.
Tropical beauties, thank you. This is another shot of it as the Tropical train station. It's in the same place as the one we saw with Buster Keaton, but it's a more standard wooden station. Then by 1921, it was Glendale for the movie 7 Years Bad Luck. And then this is it in a little bit later as the Glendale train station. The Wild West town. So this one, I think I just happened upon something in a trade journal at the time, which showed this as the Diano Pathway Film Corporation. And it says it's in Los Angeles, but it's also said it was in Glendale. They mix that sort of stuff up. So if you see, it's the same place. Then I found a sandboard that showed it on Verdugo Road, just below Oakwood. And actually, there's that triangle we just saw for the end of the circus. And it gave you all this detail about it. Here's Verdugo Road, and here's the Wild West town that's right here. And that's what it looks like today. It's a Woodbury Verdugo Road. The Chase, this is an aerial showing the general area of the Chase. Notice that this is an orange grove. Isn't that nice? Orange grove in the middle of Glendale. A little closer, the studio was right where the red arrow shows. This is like just after the thing was torn down, probably in 1926, 27. So as they go out, they go up the hill to Luton Drive. They cross around on Luton Drive. Here's a more a plan view showing how they came up to Luton. And that's what it looks like today. Luton's up there, you just can't see it because of the foliage, but that's basically the same view. And then the final scene, which is in the woodlands, or in a tree area, is in the woodlands. So you can see the San Gabriel's here. This is pretty much the same area. The match is there. So see them here and see them here. And that, folks, with those people giving a kiss, is the end. Ah! Wow, I went crazy on me again. That's the end. Yeah. Sorry about that. There it is. Very good. I can't control this stuff. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's get the lights up. That was exciting. Let's see.
Why did they wear flour sacks over their head? Flour sacks?
If you were going to commit a mob activity, like the Ku Klux Klan, you would wear a flour sack.
They were like, were they identified as like the Klan?
No, they weren't Klan. You will see in a number of period thrillers from the 1870s on, people wore bags on their head, but it was just a disguise thing. If you look at Django, they wear sacks on their head, but they're not necessarily Klansmen. They're racist, but they're not Klansmen. So it was just, I think it was more of a criminal gang kind of thing. Questions, anyone? Yes?
On Beacon Hill,
Yes.
have you ever seen any images of whether or not they had one of those arrows kind of?
I have never been able to find an image of the beacon. I have looked assiduously for an image of the beacon, and I have not seen the beacon. Although at one time I was the beacon. All too well knows.
Beacon never gives up its light.
That's right, that's right. Any other questions?
No question, but an interesting thing is The Circus was the third film ever shown at Grauman's Chinese.
Is that right?
Yeah. It was his first film, and he even said that in the newspaper article you had, that it was his first film since he went through a sort of a slump after.
Well, he had a real big problem. He had the divorce, and then his scenery burned down. So he started in early 26, and it wasn't released till 28.
Right.
So it was for that time when you were making movies in 4 months and releasing them.
The Gold Rush opened at the Egyptian in about 26. Then he was very connected, with the United Artists. They
Sure.
would say Grauman was like a silent partner in that.
Sure.
And then he opened it at the Egyptian.
It must have been really nice. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Really good. Anyone else? I guess not. Get out of here early. All right. Thank you all for.
I want to add one thing, actually. If you're on Facebook, follow him, Ayers, A-Y-E-S, amazing Facebook page. He posts, I normally don't like people who post 9 things a day, but all 9 are very interesting. They're posted by Paul. And they're really wonderful, like LA history. So
I only post 3 today.
What's that? 3 of them.
But that's why
I never reach too many.
Yeah. Unless I got a special.
Well, the one he posted today was really great. It's a picture of 2 women in a speed shuttle came behind the Hollywood sign. So it's a speed shuttle, it's like a thing
They're setting beauties. And the nice thing about doing it is I now have enough people who I know, who know stuff. They will tell me things, like Bill does. Bill tells me stuff. And Mary Mallory, who's a big Hollywood historian, went on, I think, Los Angeles and did about a paragraph of who these people were in the steam shuttle. But Senate always was really putting them in danger before me too.
But, so the two another horn here, for you guys. We have, the History Department has a YouTube channel called History Collective.
Hey, Mike.
Oh, that's okay. I've got big ones.
All right.
It has, if you Google sort of like History Collective, it will come up. It's History Collective just put together as one word. And we have about 120 interviews, documents, events, things like that. The Queen of Silver Lake pageant that Cheryl was involved in the 90s, things like that. And plus, this will be on the channel. We record these kind of events and stuff. But what reminded me was that we had a wonderful interview with the new owner of the Masterson.
Yeah.
Right, I'm not trying to excuse this. And we get to go through all the whole downstairs and all. It's great. If you go there, it's a really great thing to watch. He's a really cool guy, and you can get background on the whole set of studio. So just
I'm going to add something too. I have a YouTube page, and it has a version of this. It's a longer version. It's an hour and a half. People in Glendale have more, I guess, harder butts than the rest of us. But on that one, I do an analysis of the movie Billy Blazes Esquire, which was shot in that studio. And it actually shows the film. So if you want to check out that, it's
Please, is that your name? You keep the
yeah, it's just my Paul Ayers. I have a number of videos there. I mean, you can see if you're interested in trails or Pacific Electric or what else have I got there? I got a citrus show in there, an orange show from San Fernando Valley that I did. I haven't been doing, obviously the pandemic I was doing 4 or 5 shows a year, and then I just it's nice to get back. Yeah.
How long did that studio last there?
About 4 years. Yeah, there was fly-by-night stuff, real fly-by-night stuff. They just kept getting sold and eaten up by somebody. And there was still litigation going on with Edison. And, there was just, this is in the teens. And so there was a lot of fly-by-night stuff going on. Okay.
Could you talk a little bit about maybe any information you have about the Tom Mix studio, seeing as how we're so close to it?
No. I wish I did, but I don't. No, I don't. The reason I got into doing this is because of John Langston, and so I stayed pretty much with those comedians. I haven't done a whole lot of anybody else. Just a matter of interest. Like right now, Michael's mentioned my Facebook page. I'm doing Chinatown locations. I did Chinatown locations, very graffiti locations, and cycle locations in the last 2 years.
And Chinatown was the kid, the son of that Chinatown, the Charlie Chaplin?
No, I'm talking about Chinatown, the 70s.
Oh, the 70s.
The Roman landscape. Yeah, there's, lately they found film or photos of a deleted scene where he meets a reindeer out in Norfolk.